Hello, everybody. Welcome. I know people will be trickling in here over the next couple of minutes, but we have an action-packed session planned. So we're going to get started here in just a jiffy. I wanted to start with a question. I want you to think about the last time you raved about a brand or a company or a product or a service to somebody, to a friend, to a colleague, to a family member. Not just they were fine, this was a cool thing, but I mean, texting a friend in all caps because you're so excited about it. And I want you to ask yourself, did you do that because of their paid search campaign? Or because they emailed you on your birthday? Probably not. You probably did it because of something very, very real, something human that they did, a moment that made you laugh, feel cared for, or just think, wow, that was just really cool and unexpected that they did that. That's what we're here to talk about today. So officially, the title of our webinar is the Return on Investment of Customer Experience, 11 Digital Experience Trends to Boost Growth and Retention. You'll be hearing today from myself. My name is Mark Emery. I am the Senior Director of the Digital Customer Experience Practice. You'll also hear from Brett Sharp. Brett Sharp is our Customer Experience Implementation Expert. His focus is around helping clients turn insights into actions and customer experience into ROI. And you'll also hear from Will Payman. Will Payman helps companies define their future experiences and select technologies to enable these experiences. He has got a background in strategy, UX, creative, marketing technologies, MarTech, etc. So this is your cast of characters. The number one goal of CX is to remind advocates to share your story. It's really that simple. CX isn't just about fixing problems. It's about giving your advocates, people who talk about you, something to talk about and reminding them to talk about you. It's a system for reinforcing why your customers love you and making that contagious. And the reason this is important is not just my opinion. It's because 20 to 50% of all purchases are based on word of mouth. Not your ads, not your emails, actual conversations, be they physical in person or online. And most of these stories are powered and fueled customer experience moments. People talk about brands every day. They talk about them while they drive, while they scroll, while they text. You can't force your way into the conversations as much as we'd like to as marketers. Interruptive marketing and advertising is not effective in driving these kinds of conversations, but you can earn them. And the way that we earn them is through meaningful, story-worthy experiences. And these experiences really resonate with people because over 3/4 of people believe brands actively lie in their advertisements. We have, if in case you weren't paying attention in 2025, we have a serious trust gap in cultural institutions, governments, obviously, but also in big business. And that trust gap, it can be bridged via people, friends, family, colleagues. That's why word of mouth marketing is so crucial. It's not optional, it's everything. 68% of people will trust other people they just perceive to be like themselves over your advertisement. I wanted to set up this lens for the rest of the discussion because it's crucial. Stories get shared when they meet three fundamental conditions. They get shared when they are authentic, interesting, and relevant. And if you'd like to read more about word of mouth marketing, this is not a word of mouth marketing pitch. I can't recommend highly enough a book written by one of my mentors, called Fizz Word of Mouth Marketing. It will tell you everything you want to know about it. It's a fascinating book, replete with great examples. But stories get shared when they are authentic, and that it's the language people use with other people. It's not legalese, it's not corporate speak, it's not marketing speak. It's how you all talk to your friends and family and coworkers. It's interesting. So when you tell stories that have air, they are interesting. When you tell them, you're not getting kicked under the table by your spouse for telling that boring story again, because they know that it's an interesting one and it's a pleaser. And also it's relevant. Right? I would all stories, if they are authentic and interesting, they must also be relevant to the people hearing about them. So your CX ultimately should breathe oxygen into that air, into every single brand story. Ultimately, your stories are already being shared, whether we like it or not. Your CX defines which stories are being shared. Just a word about the advocate personality. Advocates' stories are shared by people in excess of 40,000 times per year. Advocates, unlike regular people, have twice as many brand conversations as the rest of us, because they love sharing stories, and they do so at 3 times the rate of the rest of us. No one person is an advocate for everything. No one person is an advocate for nothing. My friends know that if they want to call me and talk about cigars or drums, I'm the guy, but that's about it. Advocate personalities can tell stories that are shared exponentially more than others. I want to talk briefly about what people think is customer experience versus what it actually is. Most companies, lots of companies, think of a customer experience as the icing on a cake, something you slap on after you're done baking to make something look pretty. But I'm here to tell you that I believe CX is the cake. It's the thing that shapes every ingredient, every layer, every slice. It's not marketing fluff, it's business strategy and long-term value.
And Mark, I think we have a poll here that we want to share with everybody.
Yes, thank you. There is a poll, and this is, I already messed up my first cue for the poll. So one poll now, and there'll be a couple more coming. Why are you here today? And those are your options. So please take a moment to tell us more about what you're in for here today. Just a word, if you are new to CX or are unconvinced, CX matters. CX leaders grow revenue 1.7 times faster than non-CX people. 85% of customer interactions already are managed without human intervention. Your design is your brand voice, and if you don't modernize, your competition will. So companies that invest in digital experiences, that care about CX, that fund a program around CX, don't just improve marketing, they sell more, they retain more customers, they drive up the average revenue per customer, and they outperform the competition. So with that, I think enough preamble. I'd like to get into an example here around starting actually with the employee experience, because this is a really interesting one. Chewy's has become a beloved pet brand, not through slick marketing, but by empowering its frontline employees to act with empathy. For example, when a customer notifies Chewy that a pet has passed, the reps are encouraged to send things like handwritten sympathy cards. I think one example from an employee in our team was that they sent flowers and asked this employee to donate the dog food for his past Great Dane to a nearby shelter and refunded him the money. It's this sort of that kind of loyalty through unscripted emotional moments delivered by real people is a huge differentiator. It encourages people to act with heart. This has all been codified in their Moments That Matter initiative. So, which is a key point I'd like to stress for people on this call. Not everybody on this call is a Chewy. Not everyone on this call works for a major brand. But hopefully every organization that is currently attending this webinar has people who are customer facing, and they have been empowered in a way like Chewy employees have been empowered to treat customers with empathy throughout their journeys. The proof point for Chewy is astonishing, as their NPS is in the mid 80s, the Net Promoter Score, which reflects the fact that I think Price Waterhouse said 90% of customers stay loyal to companies who they believe care about them. So just a really great example of employee experience, an investment in employee experience that manifests and pays dividends with customers. You've heard a lot from me, but I'm going to talk one more about Norfolk Southern before handing it off. Norfolk Southern, if you're not aware, is a 200-year-old freight rail company. They faced a really big challenge. Most people didn't know or care about who they were. So rather than overhaul logos or launch a campaign, they really focused on qualitative insight. The program spanned upwards of 18 months and was a combination of both qualitative insight gathering through stakeholder interviews, but also through deep analytics. We were able to, or Norfolk Southern was able to transform real stories, shared by engineers, people who use NS and the particular application that is so crucial, into the backbone of a complete brand transformation. This has really boosted the employer brand, increased CX alignment across different parts of the organization that didn't always talk to one another. It's reduced the amount of time they spend resolving tickets. It's obviously deflected call center volume, all because they've invested mightily in understanding what their customers want and need and adjusting their roadmap and their IT roadmap accordingly. So in a very real sense, the opinions, cares, and concerns of Norfolk Southern customers manifest in the IT roadmap. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to talk about engagement feedback loops. Mr. Brett.
Yeah, before I get there, one of my favorite quotes from the Norfolk Southern work was actually when the client said, after a full long day of all the different product teams, UX, the operations teams, everybody coming together in person in a room to talk about and to be centered around the customer experience feedback, is like they've never even had that entire group of people. I think it was like 45, 50 people in a room ever at one time. And that right there is the power, because how do you really have those conversations in the organization? How do you be customer centric when you're really not talking to one another? You're not collaborating. So that was one of my favorite ones from that one. So
that's a good point. And just one point of order there. The material that we are reviewing today contains very few shameless plugs for Synoptic, and this is one of them. So Norfolk Southern is a Synoptic client. Every other one that you'll hear about today is not, and we felt like it was important to show you what industry leaders in the market are doing, not just Synoptic customers.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, what we want to do is talk about how a lot of these things, even though these are big companies with large revenues and a lot of resources, we can actually take some of the solutions and apply them in a mid-market or even a small organization. So on this one, trend 3, which is really about engaging feedback loops, my question is, I wonder if any of you have ever thought about turning your internal and customer feedback into a story to help drive advocacy or to create brand love. Not most of us would, but Slack did exactly that. So based on an employee submitting feedback in one of their channels, they actually decided to make this a thing in a moment and purposefully went and said, let's start creating embedded real-time feedback in our channel and reacting to it. So they created channels like #feedback, and they've embedded surveys. They were able to provide features, allow people to tag the features they liked and the features they didn't, right? But not only did they do that, they actually built a closed loop system that then that feedback went straight to the product teams. And users saw a change because then every time the product team would make an update or enhancement, it'd come back to the channel where that feedback was offered, and they would give a resolution for it. So that transparency that they had in terms of, hey, we heard you, we fixed it, and then we told you about it, really built a lot of trust. And that trust is really what turned into advocacy for Slack. And kind of the proof point for them is just after a few months after launching it, they had a 25% spike in feature adoption. So people found out more, liked it more, used it more. And over 800,000 social posts of people saying the amount of time saved and the improvement of a company that's listening to me was just phenomenal. So as a mid-sized organization, what can you really take from that without having the money and the resources? I'd say what they did well, and what I think some of the other examples Mark mentioned, was start with interviews, customers and internal teams, right? Make sure, if you don't have them already, to create service blueprints to really map back to where information should go, what team should do it, and who should be taking action on it. And then one of the key things that allows Slack or any of these others to go forward is really making sure you have one central repository where all of that customer data lives. And that's really to make sure you don't have siloed information or duplicate information across different teams, platforms, tools. But whatever you do, the Slack example shows us that you really need a clear workflow, just a simple one that identifies critical issues, prioritizes the impact, and then resolves it quickly, and then closing the loop by telling customers what's changed and why. People just want to feel heard. And once they see results, that will start advocating for your brand. So moving on forward, everyone's familiar with Amazon, but one of the cool things, Amazon does a lot of things, but one of the things that they do really well is they love using data, real-time data. They track, what you browse, what you buy, what you return, what you chat about to their customer support teams. But what they do is they turn all of that data into insights and into action. So often what they've done, because they have that, is they launched a new program that allows them to what they call proactive resolution, which is now taking that data, looking at it, building proactive models, predictive models to say, here's what's going on. So maybe you've had an experience where a package is running late, and you wake up and you get an email already offering you a refund or replacement because it's not going to show up. You've never even had a chance to even let them notify about it happen, but they've already taken care of it for you. Or maybe you've been browsing something on their site multiple times, for a few different days. Then suddenly it shows up at your doorstep. It's not a glitch. It's not an error. It's what they call anticipatory shipping, where they've actually bet on what they think you actually really need, and they get it to you expected. So it's really this thing about the right timing, the precision, and the feeling that they want to create, which is really that sense of, wow, they really understand me. They're here for me. So in 1 year, the proof point here is that this proactive system has handled 30% of all customer issues that come in before we even get to a support ticket that's filed, and driving a 20% increase in NPS. I'd say, one of the things that they do is to get to all that tracking information. Incorporate behavioral tracking tools or journey analytics tools. Full Story, Quantum Metric are two of the ones we've worked with, like love it in the past, but it really allows you to identify the friction point of where customers are dropping off, where they're completing channels, how they go through the funnel. We've talked about the feedback channels and centralized data, but then also make all the data and insights visible to the entire team and the entire organization. Build action-oriented dashboards that really allows the ops teams and the products teams to build it into their daily procedures. And then obviously there's things like prioritization and governance routines that really help to make sure that you're working on the thing that is really needed to be built and that it gets done.
All right. So you've heard some great experiences, but let's go to trend 5. So this is designing future experiences. This might seem sort of obvious, but very few companies actually design what the future experience should be. A lot of the time we meet our clients and a lot of companies, it's really around kind of fixing the experiences they have today, kind of thinking about how they do something, how can they make a kind of a marginal change, but not really this bigger idea about what do we want our customers to experience, and what does our experience needs to deliver for us from a business perspective. And the case study I'm going to talk about is Peloton. So Peloton, The darling of the COVID era fell on hard times. Now, what did they do to recover? Well, they actually looked very deeply at the current experience they had. They spoke with their customers. The executive teams got together. The product team got together. They spoke to their instructors and said, what is the experience we need to create? And they used this future state experience building as a way to transition the company to a new trajectory. So if we, you sort of would go, but these guys, again, lots of money, how is it mid-size? Well, I think this is something that most companies can do. It does take a bit of work. You normally have to bring your leadership teams together. You should start talking to some of your customers. You bring that together and say, what is that experience? Customer journey mapping is a great way to help define the experience. So this is something that they've done, and they've got walls on, and use this vision as a way to think about their technology, their data, and their operations to move forward. So these guys hit all these different points. In terms of proof points, they launched a new app. They saw a 35% increase immediately. Their social medias blew up. And again, what is social media? Social media is that word of mouth, people talking to each other. And the customer advocacy went through the roof. This is the new Peloton. This is what it's like. So here you were, a distressed brand who refocused their energy and their experience and used that as a leverage for growth. So kind of related to your defining your business, defining your new operation really is, okay, we've now defined it. How do we select the technology? So typically, a lot of companies either in two situations. They're either in one situation where they have a lot of legacy technology that helps manage the experience, or they actually got huge gaps in their technology stack. So it's really about understanding what have you got, doing that audit, and then saying this is the experience we want to deliver, and making sure that we find those gaps and opportunities and find the solutions to fill it. So from a mid-sized perspective, Delta is a really good one to sort of look at. But I would say, think about, doing rigorous vendor selection, taking that customer vision, asking those vendors about how they will help you enable against those things in your vision, and then how easy is it going to be for those employees to be able to interact for you. So Delta did this. They've had a huge legacy problem with many of their applications, different siloed data in the booking systems, in the operation systems. And what they realized is they had to bring this all together into a mobile app. And the app was everything, right? It was from finding out, it was actually managing the day of flight. They've introduced the luggage tracker, which was, again, because this was a pain point that customers said, it's like, we don't know that my bag is going to make it. So they introduced a way to track that bag. So again, this is a lot of capabilities coming into this small package, and it's really, carrying it around in the palm of your hand. And it was transformational for them, right? The customer satisfaction for this, the word of mouth spreading was through the roof. Like their engagement and sign up to the Sky Miles thing. Again, this is a big loyalty driver, was like a huge increase because of the mobile app.
And I believe they've won best airline for the last 3 or 4 years in a row. So that also helps. All right. So trend 7 really is about smarter self-service. And what do we mean by that? We mean that, the way that a lot of bots and self-service options are really burdensome, right? So instead, let's explore what it looks like when AI isn't just smart, but it actually helps to understand how customers feel and makes them feel, like they're being heard. So Zendesk is a great answer in terms of it's taken its AI-powered answer bot to the next level. It isn't just about a script-based chatbot, but instead it's very conversational, it's context aware, and it's capable of anticipating needs. And the other part is it continually evolves and learns. So yes, it does answer questions quickly, but in a way that feels natural, familiar, and human. So the unique core of their system is really kind of like a standard bot. Is it relies on backend knowledge bases for information, but what it does is it serves up three best fit options. Then the difference is after it serves that up, it asks a very simple question. Did this resolve your issue? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then the ticket's closed and everything's done and it's automated. But if the answer is no, it immediately transfers to a live agent to handle. At the end of the interaction, the agent then updates the knowledge base with the actual resolution steps that were done. This way, the bot is able to continually to evolve and learn through the collaboration of AI and human interaction, which is really what we call continuous experience optimization in CX, right? So by being incremental in smart learning and evolving all the time, it's really a very measurable thing. And the fact that Zendesk has had 40% of the customer queries that come in don't require any human involvement at all. They just are answered 100% by the bot. That's actually led to a 25% reduction in support tickets overall, and almost a million social media posts of things like, it solved my issue in seconds. It was amazing, and it made me feel human. So, while, you might not have the money Zendesk does, which is a relatively mid-sized company, what it requires to do that is really starting to integrate the different platforms you have. Make sure that your CRM, your ticketing system, your knowledge base, all of those things are integrated together, because the handoff is usually where the CX problems occur, right? So making sure that they're all integrated as much as possible, so that way they can start learning. The next thing is really to make sure that the knowledge base is structured and embedded into your process and your workflows, right? The routing, the escalation, right? So everything's there quick and easy, and it requires all of that. So as I think you've seen through these examples, we're going from some pretty basic things to a little more advanced to, we'll get to some very complex ones. But the other part is really enabling your call center agents and your customer success teams. You can't get rid of the human altogether. They need to be hand in hand and collaborative. And so keep that in mind. And ideally, if it's possible, the best thing you can do is get a dedicated CX or digital SME that really runs the product ownership of, kind of your self-response or self-support tools.
Sephora's virtual artist tool was one of the first mainstream applications of AI-powered augmented reality in beauty retail. What makes it powerful and super interesting isn't really the tech; it's the experience. Shoppers can try on thousands of lipsticks and shadows, and instantly using their phones, and then share the results with their friends. So there's no waiting for samples. There's no bad lighting, no awkward mirror. It's fast and it's seamless, and it's surprisingly intuitive. This is AI as empowerment, really creating moments that feel smart, feel human, feel helpful. And I think the key word there is helpful. Sephora used AI not just to sell a bunch of products, not just to scream one more time, buy this thing, but to help. And the help was based on a really deep insight that in store, customers want to experiment. So there's an in-store mode that you can see a screenshot of here in the top left. But online, they hesitate. And so this is a tool that can help bridge that hesitation. And that's the challenge, replicate the beauty play experience without an advisor. For the mid-market, what you all can take away, or many of you can take away, you don't need AR or a lab to use AI well. You can start really, really small by using AI to remove friction in key decision moments. Not everything, and to do so, we should really focus on, or you should really focus on intent modeling and micro interactions. Thinking about helpful nudges to your customers or to your stakeholders. The proof points here for Sephora again are, as you might expect, are overwhelming. The visual artist program converts over 10x higher than non-users during the session, so it is a supremely effective sales tool. AI drives increased engagement with product education and tutorials. And the feedback loops. So Sephora uses try-on behavior to improve shade recommendations and stock decisions, and it's fun. That's another key takeaway in all this. It's actually really fun to do. I've done it with my 9-year-old daughter, who Sephora is her favorite store.
Now, the next trend is really around personalization, and also personalization with intent. So you may not know it because sometimes it's just part of your daily experience, that most websites are personalizing. And this personalization is changing the way customers experience. Now, imagine this world that you know who the customer is. You know whether you're a first-time customer, whether you've looked at something multiple times. We know if you're actually a regular customer, what your previous purchases have been, right? This is the kind of data that you should be looking at and leveraging to change the experiences. The world of one experience fits all should be disappearing. So if you're not personalizing yet, now's the time to be thinking about it. Now, I'm going to show you probably one of the most extreme versions of this, right? You could look at many, many sites, whether it's your telco site or your favorite retail site, Amazon's classic here. But let's talk about the most extreme or really strange version of this is the Spotify Wrapped. So if you look at the Spotify Wrapped perspective, they are monitoring all your playing data across the past year. And they find out your favorite brands. They say what your most popular page is. They tell you the number of the types of song and relate it to others. They really encourage that social sharing and also community buzz. And it's a very much like this is your list and this is your experience. Right? So this has been a hugely effective. It started as probably more of a gimmick, but it has turned now into an annual event. People are waiting for their version of their Spotify Wrapped. Now, as a mid-sized company, you might again say, this is a lot, this is a big brand, they've got all this customer data. The point I think you should think about is you have customer data today. That customer data is probably trapped in multiple different systems, and you need to get it together and put it into a centralized place. The customer data platform is becoming available. There are cheaper versions that are available. They are now part of tools like Mo Engaged, there's types of or Insider, they're part of your digital experience platforms. And then once you have that data, you can use the imagination to be able to say, how would I treat somebody if I knew about them, they did this? If I knew they had bought this before, if I'd known they'd come before, how they would change the experience. So personalization is very, very key. And it is applicable to nearly all the trends we've said so far. But this is really a game changer because it really boosts not your conversion rates, your engagement rates, and your retention rates.
Right. And two things I wanted to add to that. One, this is not just adding someone's name to the same content everybody else gets. Right, as you can see through this Spotify example. And two, to Will's point that this is still applicable for the mid-market, one of our customers squarely in the mid-market, a utility company no less, mentioned this specific campaign as something to emulate for a new service that they are unveiling as to their customers. So it's if it's good enough for Spotify, it may well be good enough for a Georgia-based utility company.
Well, and I want to kind of reiterate one more thing too, because I think, Will and Mark, you made a brilliant point. None of this is available to any of these other advanced features unless you have that data, unless you have that data accessible, unless you have that data in a way that is integrated across platforms. So if you're really looking at where do I start with all of this, I think a lot of it's going to be, are we tracking the data? Are we storing it in a centralized place? Do we have it in a way that is accessible by all the different, platforms and tools we have? If you don't have that, that's where I'd start, because you're going to be handcuffed to do all of these other fancy things unless you have the data to start with.
So again, the next sort of tangent of this is we've got a personalized experience. Now you've got to think about it at scale. Today's consumers expect the the experiences to be the same across the channels they choose. We work with a lot of businesses where their channels are siloed. Maybe they don't even have a channel, or they just have a single channel. Well, once you start thinking about your multiple channels and think about not just now, your sort of your website and your mobile app or your mobile business, but do think about like the call center or your customer support lines, right? The portal, the customer portal. These things, the customer expectation. If I want personalization, I want you to know who I am in all my channels. I want you to be able to interact across all my channels. This drives a higher level of thinking, and also it's a much harder task to manage all these channels and keep those experiences in sync. Now, a good one to choose here, again, is really around Starbucks. So Starbucks, is a coffee company, but you could argue that their experience has really moved ahead to a point where they're, a significant part of their business is a digital company. Yes, they sell coffee, but they have this order ahead has changed the customer behavior. It allows customers to order ahead, buy their coffee, pick up their coffee at a certain time. This order ahead and go, it's changed their business. It's helped from their operations side, but it's also made it a whole lot easier for customers to get coffee. And this is the sort of the magic of customer experiences. If you make it easy for me to do it, I'm more likely to do it more often. And I'm going to do it, repeat and again and again. And you've got an engaged group and they're going to talk about it. So don't just think about, hey, I want a really great website. All your channels, all your customer channels have got to be together. Okay. Now, finally, we're at 11, and you're going, well, I've seen a lot of big consumer brands. Now, one of them that we were sort of kind of surprised about, but we saw was like the poster child was Grainger. So I don't know if you guys know Grainger, but Grainger is in the sort of replacement parts business. They help all kinds of companies with whether it's janitorial supplies, consumable supplies for shops, for schools, for all kinds of things. These really they really took the idea of customer experience to heart and changed the way they were thinking about their business. So this, if you can see number 2 here, right, on their high touch was develop a great customer experience that deepens relationships, that gains share, and expands your operational leverage. That is a flywheel, and they're really using customer experience as one of the key drivers. So all their decisions are look through the idea of how do we improve this experience? How do we make it easier, more impactful, more useful for our customers? And that is what's giving them competitive advantage. Now, this is a company with 26,000 employees. But did you know that almost 80% of their sales are now through the digital channel? Right? And this is $17 billion in sales they do. So they've made huge investments into AI and analytics, customer and product data platforms, that collection of the data that Brett was talking about. They really focused in on helping customers find. So search is a really key feature for them to find the pieces and parts that customers need. And this is not just sort of typical type in search, right? This is visual search. This is AI search, assisted search. These are very, very advanced technologies. Again, trying to help become smart and understand the customer. And then starting to understand their patterns. And you started thinking about like preemptive ordering, preemptive fulfillment. Personalization is huge. If we understand the type of customer you are and the kinds of business that you are and the things that you consume, we have your products. They aim to have your products in hand and available kind of before you even need to have them. AI, big deal. Personalization, chatbots, right? And ultimately, we've talked a lot about sort of NPS and other measures. This is critical to the leadership. The leadership want to know how their customers feel about them. And this is a kind of not just a bottoms up or operational thing. This is a core tenet of the business. So they are looking at that numbers and they're measuring the customer experience and they want to get the feedback. So Faster's more. So what does this mean? Faster, more accurate product discovery, greater, customer shopping journeys that improve their margin, that also improve their frequency and improve their shopping size, right? They're reducing abandonment rates, and they are really focused on that digital sales. So if you're looking at, a sort of non-sexy brand that's really working towards using CX as a driver for their growth, look at Grainger.
Well, and I want to add in there because Grainger is one of my personal favorites in the 25 years that I've been doing CX. This is not easy. They started this, it's been a 10-year journey for them. It's been a whole mind shift in terms of everything that they do in terms of their vision and their operations and their strategy and how they operate, in terms of everything they've done. They are the closest thing that I've seen up there with Ritz-Carlton or Disney as really being customer centric in everything they do. And it's driven, they've done all the work. They put all the pieces in place and they're really getting all the benefits of it now. They've had great financials over the last several years. And it's just one of those things where it has had huge impact on productivity, financials, profitability, customer experience. It is probably the best single example of how to really put it all into place, but it is a lot of work and it's taken them time to do it. But yeah, this one's fantastic.
Okay, let's be honest. Most chatbots feel like you're arguing with a vending machine, but there are ways to do it right, and hopefully you've heard some of them. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of other things out of this, but here are the 11 trends on a single slide for those of you who haven't been following along or are looking for a single slide encapsulation of what we've talked about today. And appearing on the screen now should be another poll. And poll 2 is, what are your current pain points? Is that up for everybody? There it is. Okay. Hopefully you're all clicking none. We're totally good. But if you're not, well, we have something for you.
Yeah, so we appreciate you all joining today. So part of this is really, if anything during the session today has sparked an idea, raised a question, made you wonder where your organization stands or what you really need to do to move forward, to improve your ROI or become a better customer-centric company, this is the next step. We're offering a complimentary 1-hour CX ROI trends consultation where one of the three of us, one of today's presenters, will personally walk you through a 7-question readiness assessment, which is very practical, it's fast, and it's helped to identify blind spots, prioritize next steps, and to map a CX strategy for you. So no pitch, no offer, just click on the link, scan the QR, and you'll get started with it. And I think we've got another poll here to gauge some interest, but the outcomes of that session is you will actually get a benchmark of your readiness compared to others. You'll get a prioritization of where you should start and what's the easiest first steps, and help you build a roadmap, so you can be able to start working on this over the next year or two.
One slide of shameless plugging. Synoptic is an organization with a footprint in the United States, Canada, and India. We have over 1,300 employees, 1,200 clients throughout our 20-year history. We do pretty well with Net Promoter Score ourselves, which is saying something for a services company like ours. We have 350 plus consultants. We deliver our services through 3 different practices. The customer experience practice, which you're talking to. We have a digital enterprise and business applications practice, as well as a cloud infrastructure and cybersecurity practice. We deliver these services to a variety of verticals, but financial services, software companies, healthcare, energy are just a few. So with that, what I'd like to do is some wizard on this call on my side should be able to open the floor up for questions. Let's take any and all questions. Thank you for attending. I hope you got a lot of information that's useful.
So Mark, there's a question from the audience. Can you help us understand the digital death loop?
Will,
Yeah.
do you want to take that one? Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So something of digital death loop. We have, we interact with many companies, right? And we call the digital death loop is really the idea of when you sort of walk to a company and companies aren't really, their digital channel isn't underperforming, and because it's not performing, it's underinvested in technology, data, people, skills, right? You have an underperforming channel that is under-resourced, under-managed, that then is a self-fulfilling prophecy that it's not going to get any better, right? So if you underinvest in the digital channel and you have no vision for where you want the business to go from a digital perspective, this is a self-fulfilling possible that this channel is not going to be successful for you. So you can't really expect your digital channel to do really well if there's no focus on it, no measurement on it, and if the current performance, without sort of changing the outlook, you can't really change that. This is the digital death loop. The big way to break that death loop is you really need to have that sort of centralized change and say, this is the vision I have for the digital channel. So going back to one of the trends about you need to define the future. Defining the future is the way to break the digital death loop.
Right. There's another one. With so many customer insights available, how do you prioritize what's meaningful versus what's noise?
Yeah, I can take that one. So I think it's great. I mean, first of all, if I look at it, I think of meaningful insights as really being anything that drives friction, creates an obstacle, or it creates outstanding issues, right? That you just are hard to overcome, for the user themselves. Noise to me is more of something that I think would be, a temporary spike happen, but it doesn't align or tie to any business or user behavior that we know about. So if I were to look at it from using that definitions, I'd say, one is, kind of start looking at what's the type of interaction, what's the type of information you're getting. Is it really kind of transactional? There's something that needs to be, happened and resolved right now, in terms of going forward, because often that has an urgency and a timing component to it. Is it something more about different behavioral, usage trends? Is it a feedback for product enhancement, right? Or is it something of like we've got changes and that's tied to a certain persona or segment group, right? So I'd look at it in terms of some different categories because the action you're going to take is going to be a little bit different from that perspective. But I'd also leverage a lot of things like qualitative and quantitative insights, right? Talking to people, finding out what they're experiencing, what's going forward, and using digital tools like the journey analytics tools we talked about earlier. Because what they'll really do is they'll start to track those behaviors, they'll identify those issues and quantify the impact that they have, whether it's a cost impact, a revenue impact, a churn impact, all of that can happen, and you can get some alerts and dashboards to do that. So those are kind of the places I'd start.
Oh. All right, there's one more over here. What are the most effective KPIs for measuring your CX initiatives ROI?
Oh, good question. The most effective CX ROI KPIs are the KPIs that link experience improvements directly to financial retention and advocacy outcomes. Is probably the best way to put it. So, financial KPIs, things like customer lifetime value, revenue per customer, cost to serve, churn rate is another good one. On the advocacy side, net promoter score is an imperfect model in my opinion for a whole bunch of reasons, but it's still decent. But referral rates, social mentions, things like that. Then it's engagement. So like how many new people are using a new thing that you created? How many existing customers are taking advantage of a new feature that you've rolled out? Your time to value. These are just a few that come to mind. I don't know if Brett or Will, you have any more that you wanted to throw in there.
No, I think that's perfect, Mark. The other way that I think a lot of the ROI specifically can be calculated is the missing gap is you've got to be able to understand how a insight or behavior actually links through your organization to the right triggers, the right leverage inside the organization, so that you can look at what is the action to it. So the connecting the dots between here's an insight, here's an activity insight, and then here's the outcome on it is really the key to be able to get to determining and calculating a hard ROI for any of your initiatives. But every one of them should actually be aligned to business operations, business strategy, so that you can calculate that. It's very doable. And using the leverage, the KPIs that Mark talked about, either operational, relationship, they each have a different kind of calculation to them. But yep.
I don't think we have, I haven't heard any other questions come over the transom, which means you are all either totally informed with everything that you need, completely asleep, or eating lunch. In which case, in either case, or in any case, thank you for attending today's session. Please feel free to scan the QR code or visit the link that you see on the screen for your complimentary 1-hour trends consultation. We'd love to talk further. Really appreciate you giving us an opportunity to tell you about some things that matter to us.
Thank you all.
Have a wonderful day.